Stewart Rhodes is the founder and president of Oath Keepers. Stewart graduated from summa cum laude from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He worked as a professional sculptor at the Nevada State Certified Sculptor, concealed carry firearms instructor. After college, he worked at Representative Ron Paul's Republican Texas D.C. staff. That's a professional trainer. Stewart graduated from Yale Law School in 2004, where his paper, Solving the Puzzle of Enemy Combatant Status, won the Yale Judge William E. Miller Prize for Best Paper on the Bill of Rights. He assisted teaching U.S. military history at Yale's History Department, was a Yale research scholar, and is now writing a book on the dangers of applying the laws of war to the American people. While practicing law in Montana, he also serves as a volunteer firefighter, oathkeepers.org, that's really got the globalists scared of him right now. They just arrested a guy a few days ago in California, and they said he had bomb-making materials, and that the proof of his extremism was he listened to the Alex Jones show, and then the ADL went on to say how dangerous I am. So the frame-up continues. Stewart, I want to get into all the points and topics that you want to cover, which I think are very, very important here today. But first off, Stewart, what do you make of the Democrats? Clearly, it's not just that. In announcements, in videos, advisors to Obama saying, stage something, you're not going to get elected. That's in the Financial Times of London, Newsweek Time. They act like we don't see them full view. It's not that we're even for Romney, but clearly they ran Fast and Furious and other criminal false flag stage provocateur terrorist events. Is there nothing they won't do? And what do you make? Because it turns out there's a bunch of these videos Michael Moore's putting out calling for burning U.S. cities and saying, yes, we can, which is the communist slogan in Latin America. Folks don't know that here, but that's where Obama got it. What do you make of this? TV ads saying we'll burn down cities if Obama isn't reelected. Yes, we can in Spanish. I mean, there's no doubt they're trying to run a false flag now. Whether they're successful or not, we don't know. But Katie barred the door. We can see where this is going to go when they've got 60 million illegals, not the 30 million. I'd rather, get the illegals and wake them up to the Second Amendment and make them great Americans. But the problem is they're being inducted into globalist ideology, Stewart. I mean, I just see this. I mean, you're a military historian. I'm a novice that studies it quite a bit since I was about 10 years old as a hobby. And I know what this is. This is a foreign banking force bringing in groups to balkanize the country for subjugation and subdividing the original republic, and then merging that republic with a larger globalist order, which has all been announced. Stewart, what do you make of this?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's divide and conquer. It's setting up the problem and then offering the solution, which is just more control. Just as they say that independent nation states and the problem is like the Federal Reserve is a national organization and it needs to be an international organization. Same thing will happen when it comes to civil unrest and political division. They'll say this paradigm isn't working anymore. We need to go beyond this, get beyond politics. Let's merge into something better. That's what I think is going to happen. And so yes, balkanization and divide and conquer of the American people, getting them fight each other is part of their program. And the two major parties are really run by the same people, as you know. They're two birds, they're two wings of the same bird of prey, and they're totalitarian. So the leftist totalitarians are the counterpart to the neocons on the right, who are also totalitarians. And so the paradigm really should be seen as freedom versus tyranny. And which side are you on when it comes to that? And too many Democrats are obviously on the side of tyranny, but only just their own flavor. But it's really just a shell game, and it's designed to get you to support one brand of tyranny or another and give you that false choice and make you choose tyranny either way. Heads they win, tails you lose.
Again, constitutional lawyer Stewart Rhodes will be with us for the next hour and 15 minutes or so. We appreciate you coming on, Stewart, and I want to get into issues that you want to focus on. Then I want to get into larger geopolitical and how you think their takeover plan later in the next hour is going to progress in the battle space that they've developed versus how we're trying to affect that. And by the way, folks, we're in the fight. That's what people need to realize. There's millions of us fighting, thousands of us prominently. People need to understand, all of us together are literally holding this back while we're being criticized by COINTELPRO and others who act like they're in our ranks with infighting, hoping we walk away so the shields fully fall. And because believe me, folks, if we weren't here doing this, we would have already been deep into this. The globalists admit, Brzezinski's new book, that they're years behind because of the liberty movement, 7 to 10. But now they're accelerating and telescoping and compressing it. But I want to, as we go to break here, mention this, Stewart. You just talked about how first they bring it from county to state, from state to federal, then the federal goes to centralized, then the new centralized Security Council is signed over to NATO and the UN. Obama's executive order 13228 of October 8th goes over this. There are other executive orders. Actually, I printed the wrong one. I need the new Obama order. This is from 2001. I need the new order that he reissued on the Homeland Security National Security Council. But if you look at the Rural Affairs Council, if you look at the 10 FEMA region governors, all of it states it's now under Homeland Security, which is now separate from the other agencies, claiming it has power when Congress before had control to a great extent of those agencies. So we see it all being transferred. Obama coming out as well, saying that NATO is now in charge of our military. Your comments on that, Stewart?
Well, it's part of the same plan. This is the relentless drive toward centralization and to supplanting our constitutional structure with something entirely foreign, with a totalitarian structure. This is a battle between freedom and tyranny, and one or the other is going to win. And so, as you said, they're shipping the battle space. We are too. It is a fight right now. We're kind of in a cold war, and it's going to be a hot war eventually, unless we can attain a mass consciousness shift and have a peaceful restoration. It's going to be a hot war. So we're just getting ready for it. They're telling us they're getting ready for it. We should get ready too.
And they've told us they're going to take us to re-education camps and kill us. I mean, that's official. That's their plan.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Strategic Relocation, the film, is now out and will start shipping next week. I will premiere Strategic Relocation Monday night after the news for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers. If you are a PrisonPlanet.tv subscriber, Monday night, the news shouldn't be longer than an hour. So look about 8 o'clock Central. We'll premiere the entire 2-hour, 40-plus minute presentation, the extras and all of it. Strategic Relocation, the film. Stewart, you know, I just plugged that because I was already going to plug it, but I noticed in some of the points you wanted to talk about, you said strategic relocation is something you've been advocating over the last couple of years. And people think that means you're scared. No, it means you're moving militarily to the best areas that have the best people, that have the best backups, if you can. But the film and the book, Strategic Relocation, also tells you region by region, if you have to stay in an area, the best place even around your city, escape routes, you name it. It's situational awareness. This is the opposite of being domesticated. Stewart Rhodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would you want to stay in an artificial environment? I mean, the powers that be want you to be maximally unprepared and dependent upon them. And no better place for that than in a city. And so why would you want to leave yourself in the most vulnerable position possible? Why not get out of the city? So as you said, even within states that are not maybe the optimal states, there are still better places to be. Get out of the cities, get into rural communities, get back to the foundation of America, which is small towns and local communities. I mean, Jefferson's ideal was a rural agrarian society of independent farmers who own their own land, because you're going to be stronger and more independent if you are that.
And notice that's the opposite of what the globalists want.
Exactly. They want to depopulate the rural areas and drive us all into cities.
Which is what Stalin did, which is what they've done in Mexico. Every Lenin, Mao, every authoritarian does this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what Stalin did to the kulaks, the independent farmers, is a good example. They cannot have independent people who can grow their own food. They do not want you to be self-sufficient. So the answer is don't do what they want. Do what they don't want you to do. Become more self-sufficient. Move into a place where there's still a real community and where folks grow their own food and strengthen it. Become, again, what America should be.
That's right. And again, for those that have studied military history or history, we know this. They want us in a siege system within their stockade. They want us as prisoners. When you look at the conversion all over the world of civilization, the design is to a prison giant re-education camp grid. Smart growth is a prison grid. They want us to voluntarily plug in to a prison grid.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why we need to do the exact opposite, get out of the cities and become strong communities again locally. Focus on your towns and focus on your counties. If you can get to a better state, by all means do it. But if you can't, get at least away from the cities in your area like you've done in the hill country of Texas. Get out where folks still, live like America used to live and become stronger. And that's the place to ride out the storm. As you said earlier, it's not being done out of fear, it's being done out of strategy.
Well, that's right. Well, I mean, we went out to a small town outside Austin a few years ago with the children, and everybody was saying hi to us and being nice to us. And my wife, who never really lived in the country, she said, well, in Austin, they don't talk to you, or the environmentalists get mad. They come up to her at Whole Foods if she has 3 kids and tell her she's evil. She said, these people are smiling. These are nice. And I said, yeah, we need to move to the country, because she didn't want to do that before. They're not under pure programming yet, but they are sending imperial globalist strike teams, and I mean that seriously, of Agenda 21 people are hitting nationwide like Empire Strikes Back. Imperial probe droids are plopping down everywhere. Right now at your city council, their operatives literally are there. They use codes, everything. Sick of the globalist eugenicist control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure, and it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure. But if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253-3139. Stewart Rhodes, military historian, constitutional lawyer, Yale graduate, worked with Ron Paul, founder of oathkeepers.org, great patriot all around. This is a short segment, long segment coming up, but I want to get into this, Stewart, because I was mentioning it. We tend to have a normalcy bias, but sending my reporters around the hill country, but also covering other stuff around the nation, going to smart growth conferences myself, when you get there, when you realize the fake environmental movement is the core of their takeover, it's their friendly front, these people use hand signs, these people use codes with each other. I mean, they'll come into a small town with $3 million, $4 million just to grease palms. They are it's how the CIA would infiltrate and take over a country, and that's what it is. In fact, we go interview some of the professors, and turns out they're CIA or CIA connected. They're building smart growth substations where they spy and create files on people. I mean, this is a military system we're facing.
Yeah, they're watermelons. They're green on the outside, but they're red on the inside. And so the environmentalism is just the latest. It's like this one of the tools to be used to drive people.
But I'm saying they actually are using military terminology is what I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I agree. And so it's on the other side of the coin, it's national security. So both are just programs to get you to swallow and accept what they have planned for you. And they put the best face forward on it.
That's right. They use national security to get the right wing to bend over, and they use environmentalism for the left.
Exactly. It's just part of the same two-party paradigm that's driving us towards totalitarianism.
Well, I mean, the thing is, debating them in any of this doesn't do anything because they're operatives. They're there analyzing and literally using you as a data. So, I mean, how do you deal with folks like that? You just call them right out.
Exactly. You don't try to change their minds. You focus on exposing them for what they are, and your actual audience are the people that they are trying to manipulate. It's a battle for the hearts and minds of the general population.
I found, though, once you show people little data printouts and things that they're operatives and they're tricks, the crowd instantly still has good instincts and joins you.
That's right. And truth will win out, and that's why they want to stop guys like you and guys like me who are exposing what they're doing and speaking the truth.
What do you expect them to try on us? I know you've had some stuff behind the scenes go on. It's starting to intensify for us.
Excuse me? I couldn't hear what you said.
What do you expect them to do to try to shut us down?
Well, more demonization and more chaos and any excuse they can use to shut down the internet. The internet is the most powerful education and outreach tool there is. And so they know, as we've talked about before, they know they're running out of time. As you said, they're behind their schedule. We bump things up. The liberty movement is growing exponentially. They know their time is limited, their days are numbered. And so eventually they're going to shut down or try to shut down free speech, shut down the internet. That's why it's critical that folks start working now on alternate communications like ham radio, even going back to carrier pigeons if you have to get ready for that system, the internet to come down eventually. But while we still have it, we need to keep growing the liberty movement and maximizing the number of Americans who don't care about left and right, don't care about Republicans and Democrats, but care about liberty. And so that is happening. We need to keep doing that, but while we also do that, we need to start focusing on getting ready for the fight and getting ready for the economic collapse that is going to come. I believe that's what they'll use in the end to pull the plug. They'll create chaos.
All right, stay there. We're going to break. When we come back, I'm going to give you the floor in this next long segment. Break down historically as a military historian and constitutional lawyer how authoritarians have done it before. We're seeing the exact same paradigm with a high-tech integrative overlay. Very wicked. But truth trumps it all, folks. If you'll just have courage and realize they're the bad guys, they must be met. And then I want you to break down how you see this unfolding in their takeover and how you see the resistance forming via the states.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
And what do we see? We see 7,200,000,000 people, fathers, mothers, children, and all our ancestors that came before us, who lived their short little lives as well, who had hopes and dreams. And always we see good people stepping down, kneeling to tyrants in the name of security and safety, and giving up more and more of their hard-won, hard-fought freedoms. No one can deny that basic freedom is on fire, burning down to the ground. But America, even though it's basically dead, and freedom worldwide is fading, in government, in the heart and in the mind, it is actually becoming brighter, because you go through a cycle. People become decadent because they've had so much freedom, they don't appreciate it, things fall apart, then the tyrants come in, then things get worse and worse, people fight it off, then they appreciate liberty again, then because they've had liberty, incredible prosperity comes, people become corrupt and decadent again, and the same cycle repeats itself over and over again. The difference is we're now in the 21st century, and the tyrants have got a lot of sophisticated tools, and it blows back on them, but they can't help it. They just have a will to power. They want to be the Übermenschen. They want total control. Well, if you were the Superman, you would know that you want to empower the species because you were so great. You would not want to stunt people so you could be the Übermenschen over a bunch of snails. Because you're not really a Superman, and that's what the globalists want to become, this enlightened creature, if you're trying to hurt and dumb people down. That is not what a Superman does. Let's just get that through your little minds. Now, Stewart Rhodes was talking about internet shutdown and ways they want to try to bring in cybersecurity to take control of the web. And there's a major gear up through the Pentagon, setting up NSA centers in every city and even small towns and rural areas to surveil people, to target people, to control people. But once they're identified, and you should find these bases in your area. I'm about to expose some here in Austin, even giving them a heads up, I'm coming. And why? Well, because we want to get your full response, don't we? Like, I might even do it today. I got to get around to that. I've been a little busy. We need to go and confront this and not be afraid. Our reporters went down and showed the NSA giant complex in San Antonio. TV and radio and newsprint, they've all had their cameras taken by the police. We just got there, and I told Jakari Jackson, just hand him a news article about the NSA losing a Maryland suit, saying people couldn't film it. And the cops didn't have to be told we're going to sue you. That was next. And they went, oh, you guys can see. You guys got the sunglasses. Oh, well, we'll just leave. I mean, what's it going to do videotaping a big illegal criminal NSA base? We're not the bad guys. Stop acting like we're the bad guys. You know, and again, the globalists put up this idea with the militias they tried to take over 20 years ago, 15, 16 years ago in that area. By demonizing the idea, putting radicalizers in there, and then everybody sneaks around at night with their guns and plays secret agent. Folks, we're out in the open. We're out in the open buying 3 to 5 million guns a month. We're out in the open calling you murdering criminals. We're out in the open exposing you. We're the good guys, okay? You understand that? And again, we're not heroes, ladies and gentlemen. This is basic survival. These are really nasty authoritarians. If we just had some boss hogs taking over, it'd be bad enough, but I wouldn't be that worried. It'd just be, well, that's too bad we're corrupt. These are nasty control freaks that want to run your life. We've had the FBI informants on, famous people, who testified to Congress and got weathermen convicted. They were in the meetings with Obama's advisors when they said, we're going to put 50 million conservatives in camps, we're going to kill half of them. Now in the new Army manuals, it says re-education camp. They use that term. I'm going to shut up. Stewart Rhodes, you've got the floor here, founder of Oath Keepers, constitutional lawyer. How do you see them taking over? We see the battle plan. What's their battle space versus our battle space? How do you see this playing out in general terms as a military historian as well?
Well, first of all, what they're doing is flipping the constitutional republic of the founders upside down. Under in a free republic, we would be self-sufficient in strong communities. We would be self-responsible in the militia, taking care of our own defense, our own domestic security, both in our towns, counties, states, and as a country. It's supposed to be the militia who takes care of domestic security, not the standing army.
And that's just upright men and women everywhere with assault rifles like Switzerland and basically no crime.
Right, but we should be organized too. I mean, they expected us to be drilling and training just like they do in Switzerland. I guess you could say what the National Guard was supposed to be, but on a larger basis. Everybody who's fit should be in the militia and training and under the command of their governor. But that's not what we have. We have state militias only in name in the state constitutions, but they don't really exist. They're no real units. It's not supposed to be just atomized individual gun owners. It's supposed to be gun owners who have their own weapons, but also train and organize at the town, county, and state level. That is supposed to be the force in America, the military force. Standing army is supposed to be very small. And then the other side of it is, the law enforcement side, is the sheriff's posse. Same thing. You're responsible for your own security. That's why I don't like the meme of the sheepdog. A lot of guys in the military and police and veterans will get into being the sheepdog, guarding the sheep. And they look at the sheep and they say, well, productive Americans who are defenseless are still good citizens, but they're just sheep and we're the guardian. That's not how it's supposed to be. We're all supposed to be our own guardians. That's the answer to that ancient question of who shall guard the guardians, is that you be your own guardian. It's supposed to be a class of citizen soldiers across the country. And so we should get away from this idea that it's okay to just be a helpless, ineffective, incapable of defending yourself or feeding yourself worker bee, and then have the warrior class, and then have the, like in Plato's Republic, where they have the working class, the bronze, then the silver is the warrior class, the honor, people that focus on honor, and then the highest is supposed to be the philosopher kings, the gold class. That's a totalitarian system. We're not ants. We should be self-sufficient, independent farmers and landowners and businessmen, but also warriors who train and are ready to fight to preserve our freedom and defend our own country. That is what we're supposed to be. They replaced that by gutting that system, taking away your personal sense of responsibility and honor to be the militia, to be the posse, telling you, don't worry about that. You just go work and we'll take care of your security for you. And there's no such thing as a free lunch. And, buying into that paradigm has put us where we are. So now it's easier to get a Katrina going or some kind of chaos during a storm like Sandy or during an economic collapse. It's far easier because you have a bunch of people they have become like a nation of sheep, relying on a professional warrior class of sheepdogs. That's the problem. That makes you very vulnerable and very easy to manipulate through chaos, whether it's election cycles and riots after an election, or an economic collapse.
And that's why they've gotten rid of dodgeball and then even jogging at the playground, or a kid gets beat up and he fights back, they expel him, not the kids that even attacked. The idea of, well, look at England where they arrest you if you defend yourself. These criminal nanny states, the greatest crime is being a man.
Exactly. We want to emaciate, exactly right. We want to emaciate all the men, and also even women, though. Women are told, don't fight back against rapists. Last thing you want to do is try to use violence. Violence is never the answer, and all this kind of nonsense. And so you wind up with a society where the only people who are competent at using violence are either the government or private criminals. And so those, gangbangers or SWAT officers are the only two people who have any kind of competency and act like men. And those are both perversions of manhood. On the one side, you've got violent criminals who just, out for themselves, might makes right. But on the other side, you've got the government doing the same thing. Might makes right. They're hyper violent.
And they want that monopoly. I mean, a true warrior class would want to make all the people under them warriors as well for the greater strength of the society. But you notice, oh no, you shouldn't defend yourself. You should call us.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Native Americans. Every man was a warrior and a hunter. And look at the early colonial Americans on the frontier. You had to go out there and defend yourself because there's no one else around. And also, look, even in the New England towns, you were expected to be in the militia. You are not an ant. You're not a worker bee. You're not a worker ant. You're supposed to be taking care of all those functions, not just the one or the other. So this is the problem: is the paradigm has shifted from independent, self-sufficient, but also within a community being strong and being willing to step up and take care of business. It's gone from that to a society of just consumers and a society of passive Americans like the Eloi in the time travel movie. They just sit around and they're just waiting to be eaten.
And the Morlocks, well, H.G. Wells was a top eugenicist. He admitted that was all an allegory of what they were establishing, Stewart Rhodes. You're absolutely right. But they haven't domesticated everybody. So you got 150 to 170 million gun owners. They're getting hyper aware, hyper ready. I mean, that's pretty much checkmate if they try it and we resist them, because our culture is actually so much more inviting than this dead culture of ninnying, that the ninnies are getting more ninny-like, but I'm seeing actually an acceleration of rediscovery, and it's infecting everybody with the fires of liberty. I think that's why they're moving so quick. So how are these two worlds going to collide?
Well, you're right, and especially in rural America, if you get out of the cities, see, their dream is already almost fulfilled in the cities. Look at Chicago or New York. Everyone thinks it's horrible to own a gun, and they feed into this. But you go to rural America, and like out here in Montana, you can live 15 miles from a major road, and around you is nobody else but you and your neighbors take care of each other and yourselves. When you're out there hiking or hunting in Montana, you're attacked by a grizzly bear, there is no cop going to come save you. You have got to take care of it. And so by default, you have to be more self-sufficient. And that's the way it is in rural America, which is why they want to depopulate rural America.
Yeah, by default, I mean, we got rattlesnakes out by my house. You got to have guns. I mean, you live out with grizzly bears. You're going to take a gun with you when you go to the store because a grizzly bear might come around the corner. I mean, again, it's so simple. We need to go back to being humans, stop being domesticated.
While we fight to retain our liberty, while we fight to expose globalism, we have to realize we're talking about a very powerful combination of power.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the InfoWar in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. My personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones. Stewart Rhodes is our guest. Listen, folks, we're not trying to scare you. We're trying to say, hey, you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day, I think you're going to get lung cancer. I mean, it's just, look, we got tyranny. Stewart Rhodes is a constitutional lawyer, taught history at Yale, worked for Ron Paul. I've read so many history books it'll make your head spin because I just got into it for entertainment purposes. Started reading my dad's science fiction books when I was, 6 or 7. He had like those little science fiction magazines that had the easier to read stuff with all the pictures. So I started reading that. By the time I was 10, I was like, ooh, this history thing is even more entertaining. So I got all the knowledge. And now, but I mean, you don't even need knowledge to know this is tyranny, folks. The point is, it's moving quick now. Stewart, short segment here, long segment coming up with more news and calls. Stewart Rhodes of Oath Keepers. But so how do you see the clash taking place? Because Oath Keepers are trying to wake up police and military. I'm not putting a good face on it. I'm being honest. I see a lot of police waking up and a lot of military. What are you seeing? But how do you see this colliding? And you're seeing economic collapse. They just turn things off where they want to make you dependent, which goes back to, while we still have an economy, we better all get somewhat self-sufficient.
Yes, exactly. And this is a fight to the death between 2 smaller groups. On the one side, the freedom movement, on the other side, the totalitarian movement. And in between is the great mass of the average American. And so it is a battle of the hearts for the hearts and minds. On their side, they use fear. Their greatest weapon is fear and helplessness in the population. And on our side, our greatest weapon is truth and courage. And if we can wake up the American spirit and remind them of their own heritage, of being brave first and foremost, not being driven by fear, and then being honorable, we can shift the average person back towards the ideas of liberty this country was founded on. So truth is a great inoculator. It once you wake somebody up, like I said in my speech at Paul Fest, once you're woken up to the false left-right paradigm,
there's no going back.
They cannot. Yes, exactly right. They'll never again control your mind. And so we've seen exponential growth in the freedom movement. My big concern is I believe that if given enough time, we will win. But I'm concerned that we are running out of time and that they will attempt to short circuit our ability to go out there and wake people up. That's why I focused on the guys with the guns first. It's a subset of the liberty movement message. I mean, the whole liberty movement is about reaching out to people, teaching them the truth and what's been going on, and then, lighting a fire of liberty in their mind to do what's right and be strong and not be driven by fear. And I'm doing the exact same thing with police and military, is focused on them because I believe we're running out of time. So I hope to buy the liberty movement more time so that we can keep on doing that with the general population. But I focus on the guys with the guns first.
Sure. Define what it means to be honorable. I mean, here's the deal. When I know criminals are taking over, I don't need to be told to resist them. In my heart, I feel in my heart right now a need to resist them and a absolute drive to know they've got to be stopped. That's just survival instinct. I think we call it honor, but I really just think honor is being human and following the good sense God gave us.
Yeah, exactly right. And it also goes back to the warrior model, too. A warrior, the highest calling for a warrior is to defend and not to be an enforcer. And it's not just to cover your own rear end and to preserve yourself only. It's to defend the weak. And so, if you're going to be a man and you're going to be, called a man, you should be willing not just to defend yourself and your family, but also your community and your country. And the way you defend it is you speak up and you stand out and you step up and you call out the oath breakers and you confront them, like you said. You don't cower in fear. That's why I don't like the paradigm of the secret prepper also. I mean, yeah, I can understand if you're in living in inner city New York, you wouldn't want your neighbors to know you have food stores, I guess. But the real answer is to step out there and build coalitions and community and help each other. You cannot just be an isolated prepper, an isolated survivalist, and think you're going to be doing anything. You're no longer being a
Or you can run a compartmentalization where you do things you don't talk about, but you have the public persona as well, offense, defense.
Sure, you betcha.
All right, long segment coming up. We're going to get more into this, but I'm going to tell a parable, an analogy of something I discovered Monday. Because, folks, none of us know that much. Those of us that know quite a bit realize how little we do know. The fool thinks they know everything. I'm learning new things all the time. But I have an analogy straight ahead with Stewart Rhodes, your phone calls, a ton of news, and a lot more straight ahead. You know, they're coming out with all the robot cars, as I told you, and sure enough, they're announcing, hey, the robot cars are safer. We're going to make you be under robot control. You can still act like you're driving, but if you make any mistakes, the robot's going to take over second to second. Lexus is getting ready to roll that out. Folks, they mean business. They mean business. The future doesn't need us. All these science fiction movies got humans going to foreign, planets and things. The globalists plan on just getting rid of humanity, and they think they're going to evolve and merge with computers. Hey, I'm not the one saying that. The New York Times and everybody's always saying, Alex thinks this, Alex thinks that. No, I'm reading the news where the globalists are saying this. They're a bunch of maniacs, and I've had enough of them. And they're going to drones and combat robots, you name it, to cut humans out of the equation. That's why we've got to get it's like the force of water humans are. There's billions of us. It's only a few thousand top globalists and a few million minions that serve them. Here in the U.S., it's the same in other countries per capita. And have you ever gotten in a stream that's just going a few miles an hour, how hard it is to stand up in it? See, if we just push, if we decide we want organic food, boom, they'll stop growing the inorganic because there won't be a market. That's already starting to happen to a great extent. That's why they're panicking. If we say we want guns and just start buying them and using them and getting somebody into guns, literally, it's over. You take one brainwashed minion who's scared and has 5 locks on their door, take them, teach them how to shoot, teach them safety. They're like, well, that's no big deal. That's easy. You've now deprogrammed them. Their whole programming will fall. Just like people started saying, hey, slavery's wrong in 1800. Very small percentage. 60-something years later, it was outlawed. Folks, big ideas, big things start small. When you're on the right, you can't be stopped if you keep moving the ball down the field. Now, I'm going back to Stewart Rhodes of Oath Keepers. Again, if you just tuned in, I'm Alex Jones. But I want to explain something here to everybody. I am not a, super healthy person. I used to be a big sports guy, got out of it, got into being unhealthy, eating like a pig and stuff, and didn't work out for about 10 years, except for going on an occasional hike. It's a lot harder to get back into shape than to grow up in shape, let me tell you. But I go and I swim a couple miles a day most days. I go on, 8-mile hikes. I go on little 3-mile jogs, go through all the little injuries and stuff of being out of shape, being fat. But I started noticing on the hike and bike trail, people not wearing shoes on hike and bike trails with limestone cliffs, rocks, gravel, you name it. And I was always marveling on an 8-mile hike last week. I was always marveling how they did it because, it hurts to walk over pebbles and rocks. So I went for a swim Monday early in the morning, and I said, I'm going to go down to the hike and bike trail, and I'm going to take my shoes off, and I'm going to walk a half mile and walk a half mile back. And the first 100 yards, I thought I was going to have to turn around. But you know what happened? After about 400 yards, ladies and gentlemen, my feet went numb. And when I turned around to that last half mile, I jogged back to my car with no shoes on and only had a few little cuts on my feet. It was so easy. It was so easy. And I'm going to go jog now again. This time I'm going to jog a mile with no shoes. Now, folks, to me, it was like foreign planet to see these people running with no shoes. I'm not talking about a dirt trail, folks. I'm talking about rocks and gullies and everything. And now, I'll guarantee if I do that 10 times, folks, I'll be able to do what they do. And it's the same thing with liberty. Now, it's the converse, and the globalists write about this. I had a big banking CEO once on a first-class flight to New York to go on The View, sit there and go, people will put up with anything. They will adapt, and we use that. And that's the point, is they know they can incrementally get away with evil, and we'll accept incredible things, including them killing us with cancer and all the rest of it, and not even notice. They'll use our adaptability to destroy us instead of our adaptability to defeat them. Stewart, do you get the point I'm making of how important this analogy is?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's a good analogy. You know, they want you to believe that you need them, that you're dependent on that system, that there's no other way. And of course, the easiest counter is to go back to being a natural human being.
But I mean, believe me, I had trouble walking across. My parents got a bunch of gravel at their house. I didn't like walking 50 feet without shoes. But I was thinking, well, when I was a kid, I ran around everywhere without shoes, through gullies and everything. How did I? And the weird thing was, in one little mile walk, I already had gone light years. I mean, it's just incredible. And we can do the same thing politically. People think it's uncomfortable to speak out and get involved. Just start doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Go back to, like I said, being a full human being. It's like growing your own food, or as you said earlier, learning how to defend yourself with a firearm. These are basic human functions. We've abdicated our own personal responsibility for basic human functions. It used to be women had children. My wife's had all our kids, all 5 kids, home births. Used to be that was the norm in America, as it is in most of the rest of the world. You don't need a doctor for that, unless you have a serious problem. So getting back to being natural and taking responsibility for the full spectrum of human life and the full cycle of life is where it's at. And the powers that be don't want that. They don't want you raising your own children and homeschooling, for example. They don't want you doing home birth. They don't want you deciding whether you want to be immunized or not and choosing not to. They don't want that. They want to eliminate choice, and they want you to feel like you have no choice whatsoever. And the same goes for your own security. They want you to turn over your security to professionals and to be Eloy and be defenseless. And their answer is always more and more power. To protect you, we must disarm you. Look at the average airport. That is our future. If they get their way, the entire country and every square inch will be just like an airport, where you could have your beverages checked every now and again, make sure that you're not going to poison yourself or somebody else. So that's their drive. That's their paradigm, is that you need them. You need to be subject to them, and they need more and more control. Their answer is always more and more control. So your response should be that we don't need you, and we're going to live as free people now. Don't wait for a law to be passed. Don't wait for a political party to do this. You do it as an individual, but also start focusing on community. You're going to need each other to ride out the storm. You need to have not just you and your family. You need to have close friends and allies, forming mutual aid societies and mutual defense societies now.
Well, here's an example, and we'll go to calls with Stewart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers. Again, I'm Alex Jones for tuning in for the first time. We're now on over 130 AM and FM stations. One of the few true, diverse areas of media where the opportunity is talk radio. And I support, licensed AM and FM stations. I think there's a place for that statewide, not really federal. I don't like the FCC. But I get in that limited spectrum, the fact there needs to be a basic process, kind of like striking a claim. But that said, in an emergency situation with Tyranny and all the spots they have open on the dial now with digital, they were supposed to give local community stations or local small groups, these 100 and 300 watt stations. They didn't do that. That was supposed to go to micro FM. And as long as micro FM, known as Pirate, doesn't interfere with commercial stations, it's such an important thing. But I have watched from afar. I don't know all of them, but I've met some of the people over the years involved. The local group in Austin with 90.1 FM, and we're on 99.7 KLBJ, we're on 590, we're on some other stations in Texas. But the issue is 90.1 shows up high in the ratings. It's a micro that's been there for years. It covers most of the city. And the people involved just pass it around over the years. Different people run it. That's why I'm not sure he's running today. I've met him at events and things. But I happen to have read in the news a while back, it's going to the Supreme Court. They've been winning in federal court to have this micro FM that covers a city of 1 million people all the way to the Supreme Court now. And that's people fighting to get the word out and put my show on, and I'm not even influencing them or asking them, going to the Supreme Court. And again, it took them years to even come after it or find it. The government's so slow. They all operate off of our compliance, is my point, Stewart.
Yeah, and also on your laziness too. I mean, the average person out there just defaults to turning on the boob tube and CNN or listening to whatever's on the radio. They're relying on that, and so that's why I love the internet and I love talk radio. These are ways of getting around that control grid, and so we need to encourage that and utilize it ourselves.
Sure. Here's an example. They try to block people getting small AMs that just go around the neighborhood or little FMs that cover the neighborhood. Then you plug it into an internet site, then broadcast at your neighborhood, put up signs. Everybody starts listening. Now they try to block domestic groups selling these little stations, whether it's a tenth of a watt, whatever, to anybody. But their government's so slow, you can still order it from foreign countries. You know, the point is, folks, be the change you want to see in the world. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. If everyone in the liberty movement were to just go and get one more person looking up, then you double the size of the liberty movement. Then you do it again and again and again, and we win. So, you know, replicate yourselves. Don't just speak to the choir and be in a sound chamber with you and your friends. Go out there, attend community events, join organizations. You can work through your church. You can work through veterans organizations, local, you know, the Shriners, whatever it is. Maybe not the Shriners, but it's whatever you want to do. Just work in your local community.
No, I say go into the. I just say every group. I mean, I've thought about marching right into the Masonic temple and saying, "You guys all claim you helped found America and fighting tyranny. You better get out there and do it instead of promoting evil." I say, I say go to LULAC. I've gone to La Raza. I mean, I've over the years gone. I'll go to anybody and try to wake them up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to pick your battles. I try to focus on people that I think are more receptive.
Yeah, like Second Amendment groups, Ron Paul type groups, you name it.
Yeah, just even just non-political groups. Just get involved in your community, and you'll meet people. Like with shooting, you go out to the range and you shoot. You become shooting buddies, and then you start talking to them about what's going on. And once you're friends, it's a lot easier to switch them on rather than, you know, running up to them and saying, "Hey, this is going on." You know, they don't even know who you are. So get to know people.
Yeah.
Get to know neighbors again.
I want to go to calls. I want to go to calls, yeah, instead of just watching TV all day, drive through neighborhoods. Look, the reason we sell the InfoWars magazine that's now 60 pages, glossy, ladies and gentlemen, with a full-size poster inside, you name it. The reason we sell these is they're really just color booklets. But it's not a booklet. It's the size of the old Rolling Stone. It's huge. We sell these in bulk in groups of 10, 20, up to 100 at cost. It comes out to like $1.40 something a piece to wake people up, and it will do it. And folks, you need to get aggressive because they can have an internet kill switch, but if you have got these magazines, these, again, are powerful weapons to wake people up. These are seeds that you can plant. Stewart, I want to go to some calls, but people can subscribe, get 12 issues sent to their friends and family at InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWars Magazine, or they can buy them in bulk at InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139. But Stewart, just briefly, because we've got to get to calls as promised, what do you see as the time frame on all this currently right now? Is them trying to stage a false flag, or where all this is going?
My concern is that I think we should operate under the assumption we only have a matter of months. And the reason I say that is because they understand they have to do something soon. Liberty movement is growing. And so I think it's better to err on the side of caution and prepare yourselves for, you know, take it 3-month chunks. Assume you only have 3 months and then roll that over again. If you get past 3 months, great. Then do it again. But strengthen your position as much as you possibly can for yourself and your family and your friends, your local community. Operate on the assumption you only have 3 months at a time. But while you're doing that, you're waking up other people and getting ready at the same time. Do both together as a two-pronged attack.
You know why? You may be right about it, 3 months. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they're currently got their finger on the trigger. They've got all the new TV shows coming out where the militias are going to kill everybody. It's a full rollout. They've got the public news rollout that we're the new terrorist. And so it's the pre-hype is like what we saw before 9/11 introducing Al-Qaeda. And so they definitely have got their finger on the trigger.
Yeah, and also we've been hearing, you know, and you can look at the economy, of course, and see from that itself, it stays a number. It cannot stay up much longer. But we've also been hearing from sources inside the government, they're preparing for an economic collapse. This has been going on for the last couple of years. And you've heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of that through different channels. And so we know they're getting ready for it, and so we should expect it to happen.
You're right. Let's jam in some calls here. Julius in Pennsylvania, patiently holding. Welcome, Julius.
Hi, thank you, Alex, for having me. I just started listening to you last week, and let me tell you, I've pretty much since I was a little kid, I've always questioned all these conspiracies, and I thought it was nuts. And it wasn't just you; it was Governor Jesse Ventura who confirmed and everything. And I just want to say thank you for your leadership. And with God's help and your leadership and my own wisdom with my family, I'll be able to prepare as best as I can for what I hope is not true, but I guess it is true. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you. I mean, people are always saying, when's the New World Order coming? We're already in the hot water. We're in the tub like Bugs Bunny when, you know, the pygmies are about to cook him and they're lighting the fire. We need to get out of the cook pot. And people need to understand, like, where's the war, Alex, that they were going to have in the Middle East? They've got wars going in 3 countries now on top of Iraq and Afghanistan. It's all going, they just don't call it a war. We're already going into martial law when they have checkpoints on highways and stuff and are suspending. Stewart Rhodes, federal court rules that they can put cameras on your property without warrants. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. That's that's CNET News. I mean, this is outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem is we're running on a short timeline towards conflict. They're putting in place not just the surveillance structure, but the totalitarian enforcement structure of bringing the war paradigm home and destroying what's left, the ragged shreds that are left of the Constitution. They're destroying the Fourth Amendment. They're destroying the Fifth and Sixth. The right to jury trial is being thrown out the window. All of this is happening. And so, of course, people say, then what are you going to do about it? Well, the answer is to wake up people to the illegitimacy of it, and especially among the military and police and veterans or critical groups, so that fewer enforcers will be there to do it to you, and more confident people who know how to fight will be ready to fight. And I'm not disparaging the average private citizen. You should also learn. Don't rely on a professional warrior class. You go and become a warrior too. Go to an Appleseed shoot, learn how to shoot your rifle.
Exactly. None of us are looking for trouble, but my family's not going to one of their FEMA camps with a bunch of pot-bellied communists having their way. It just isn't happening. And we all need to work as hard as we can now so we don't have to do that, folks, because here's the deal. These authoritarians aren't going to give up without a fight. We just, like Stewart said, we got to affect the battle space now and get as many people as we can awake, okay? Because they want to take you to a torture camp. They like raping children. They just arrested another TSA raping little kids, reportedly. I mean, this is what they want. You understand? Go ahead, Stewart, sorry.
Well, I mean, the other answer is civil disobedience. If you have, like you said earlier, when you get moving with a large mass of people, they can't be stopped. And so one answer is don't comply. Be willing to be like Henry David Thoreau and be willing to go to jail for your noncompliance, but spread that meme of noncompliance. And it all comes right down to is being courageous rather than fearful.
And sabotage the enemy at any level you can. Yeah. Gotta love Muse, Patriot, listeners of the show. Last time I checked, the only news websites they link to are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and they have said on record they are listeners of this show. Mr. Bellamy popped in one time to the show. And again, I'm not bragging. I'm saying, look, all over the world, people know the score. And no matter how authoritarian this system gets, once we know it's criminal and bad, then we just remove our support and they fall like Ceausescu. It comes down to that. So expose the globalists, but also get prepared with Strategic Relocation, the film, now available at Infowars.com, and spread the word about the transmission and our local AM and FM affiliates. Philip in California, you're on the air with Stewart Rhodes. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Stewart. Honor to speak with you. Question I have a couple questions. I'll get to them quickly. The first one is for someone who's trying to prepare themselves and really gain the training that's necessary. Is there any kind of recommendations, Stewart, you could provide as far as how to approach either former or current members of the military, et cetera, in training?
Go take Appleseed training, learn how to use a rifle, learn how to shoot at about 200, 300 yards first, and just know how to hike and know how to defend yourself. That's what I'd say, Stewart. Yeah,
that's right. And of course, you can also just go and go to your local DFW hall and see what they need. Maybe you can work with them to help your community get more prepared. And within Oath Keepers, we have an Operation Sleeping Giant program that's focused on outreach to veterans. If you want to jump on board with that, contact us through oathkeepers.org, and you can help us outreach to the veterans. But the best thing to do is to, if you know there are veterans out there, get with them, and they can plug you into guys they know that have decent training in the military, and they should be out teaching people and replicating those skills. The average American should have basic infantry skills. That's what you're supposed to be doing. If you don't know how to move, shoot, communicate in a fire team and a squad, then you're not a full American, frankly.
I mean, the big deal is here, folks. I've just, like most people that are pro-liberty, just grew up in it and know how to, been shooting guns since you're 4 years old. You tell people that I've never shot guns, they don't understand. But, I mean, the biggest thing is you need a 308 style rifle. And you need to learn how to use it. And also you need to decide what your red lines are, when you're going to have to defend yourself against criminals. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that's a part of it, definitely. And I'm working on trying to train myself now and using YouTube. One thing I was thinking of, which using planetinfowars.com, I'm a member of that, so thank you for it. If there's more service members could provide, they're providing some insight on that. If they could provide more insight, that'd be great. And then I'm trying to reach out to people from there to develop networks and
sure, but it's like you said. I mean, the main thing is, it's not that it's bad to go out and try to get military training. It's that if you did it on Craigslist, it's going to be a cop wanting to go meet you, and they're going to meet. They're going to go, let's kill people. And even if you say no, they'll just give you plastic explosives and put you in jail and put you on the news because they've been told they'll be promoted if they frame somebody. The bigger, I'm talking about feds when I say cops, the biggest issue is there's a lot of military historical associations. There's a lot of shooting clubs. Get into a shooting club and then just don't say, I want to military train. Then over time you'll meet good people. I mean, it's not an automatic process. Do you agree with that statement, Stewart?
Well, there are people out there who provide training in small unit tactics. The main thing is go and get involved in discussions of illegal actions. You can train and learn the skills without being snared. Don't let someone talk to you about committing crimes.
A real fast, Sleeping Giant. Tell folks about that operation, Stewart.
That's our outreach to veterans, focused on first, preparedness, second, security, third is sound money and financial independence, and fourth is state sovereignty and local sovereignty. We want to focus on those four main preparation points so that we can strengthen our communities. We think veterans could be very, very powerful leaders in doing that in their local communities.
That's right. The globalists have captured Washington completely. They brag. I mean, I'm not just saying that as a figure of speech. We are occupied. Now they're trying to mop up the states. We've got to take the states back to defend them from foreign infiltration. We've still got those bulkheads the founders put in place, the Second Amendment, the jury, the grand jury, the state bulkheads, the firewalls. They've breached a lot of them, but we still can use these as positions to try to restore the republic from. Deborah in Texas, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, hello. I'd like to say hello to both of you.
Thank you.
My question is, when they move to a higher scale of threat, let's say, for example, scientific engineering or social engineering situations, what do you think about the possibility that there were maybe even scientific investments in the HARP weapon?
Well, I mean, ma'am, they admit major weather modification. The White House ordered DHS to control hurricanes. That's the Washington Post. I mean, it's definitely going on. And that's the problem with this national security state. They've got trillions of our dollars to do whatever they want in secret, including shipping narcotics in. Stewart, your take on that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you just said.
Yeah, we need to get you headphones when we do this because you got to keep your audio down or it feeds back and you can't hear us. Well, she was talking about HARP weapons, weather modification.
I'm not really an expert on that, unfortunately.
No, I understand. Aaron in Alaska, man, that was a good point. Thank you, Deborah. Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just checking with you being, anti-globalist, anti-police state. I got pulled over for a DUI on ATV, and my girlfriend was in my truck. 2 vehicles behind me. The law in Alaska is the cops have to take all the firearms in any stop, and the cop got a call after he put all 6 firearms over $3,000 on his trunk got a call for backup, drove off, damaged all of them. The police, state troopers will not give me a report on it, and they gave me instructions, but those instructions they gave me do not fall.
No, I mean, all you have to sue them in small claims court, get their name, and drag them in there.
But that's a law in Alaska that they have to confiscate your guns? That's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I don't think so. You're a constitutional lawyer. We don't know that law there, but Alaska law is pretty in line with the Constitution, right, Stewart?
Well, I mean, they've got permitless open carry, which is good. But you know, I don't really know what law he's talking about. He could be right. I don't know. If he is, then that's ridiculous. So you need to change the law, work to change the law in the state if that's the case.
I had no firearms on me, and they took them from a vehicle too behind me, and I'd been drinking. I did end up getting charged for DUI, but I didn't get felony misconduct because I was stopped.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would have just told them you're not drinking. You know, the issue here is it's none of their business. It's all a fraud, and people need to stop talking. Don't even lie to the cops. Just don't talk. And
how'd they know there were guns in the car, two cars behind?
They walked up to my girlfriend in the car and started asking her, and it is a state law up here that you have to declare firearms. But
I mean, what do they do? Pull 3 cars over at a time?
Well, we were all stopped at a stop sign, and they nailed me to a stop sign. I wasn't even moving the ATV, so
and then decided to grab a bunch of other cars. Well, I'm glad they're stopping the narcotics the military ships in, and I'm glad they're stopping the UN child kidnapping rings. Oh, I'm sorry, they weren't going to do that. Stewart Rhodes, thank you so much. Great job. InfoWars Nightly News tonight is going to be Power Pack, 7 o'clock Central.
Every 4 years, the United States of America hears the drumbeat of billions of campaign dollar attack ads, meaningless debate with empty analysis and poll after poll after poll. This can only mean one thing. It's time to pick our globalist puppet leader.
We're going to be left with a choice of a lesser of 2 evils. And I'm saying I don't go out with evils, I don't deal with evils, I don't do business with evils, I don't hang out with evils. Why would I vote for an evil to run my life or run my country?
Will it be globalist puppet A or puppet B?
They continue to vote for these Democrats and Republicans, the people that are wrecking our country, and yet they still vote for them.
Unlike North Korea and China, we Americans have the illusion of choice this November 6th.
I think that a lot of votes are going to be stolen.
I don't know how you could possibly have voter fraud when your son owns the voting machines.
1.4 million votes were lost, spoiled as they call them in the biz, through these so-called glitches.
The choice is not up to you. Which management team from Slavery Incorporated will run our country into oblivion for the next 4 years? Tune in to Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.tv this Tuesday, November 6th, as another meaningless pageant is played out.